Next on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We've done a lot here with Paul and Beth as far as sending people here to see what they're doing.
We'll head to Pennsylvania to visit one of this year's Environmental Stewardship Regional Award winners. Plus, tips on how to maintain your feed bunks. And we'll take you ringside to the California State Fair's Sale of Champions.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen with your host, Susie Ross.
Hello, I'm Susie Ross. Thanks for watching Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Leading our cattle industry news this week, Congress has returned from its August recess, and that means a renewed focus on the 2007 Farm Bill, especially in the Senate. The House version passed earlier this summer. NCBA continues to focus on its members' Farm Bill priorities. These include funding for conservation programs and a workable country of origin labeling system. NCBA also opposes any amendments that will restrict cattle ownership or cattlemen's marketing options. NCBA's member services team is adding 2 new field reps. Rachel Aha will work in the Southwest, while Mark Fellman represents NCBA in the East Central region. They join NCBA reps already in the field, including Dan McCarty in the Northwest and Melanie Sojourner in the Southeast. To get in touch with the NCBA field rep in your area, visit our website at cattlementocattlemen.org. Branded beef is bringing some big changes to the industry. But what does it mean for cattlemen's bottom line? We have more in this week's Market Watch.
Market Watch, brought to you by Pfizer Animal Health.
Joining us is Brett Stewart of CattleFacts. Welcome to the show, Brett.
Great to be here, Susie.
It's great to have you. We're all familiar with the traditional grades of beef, prime, choice, and select. But branded beef seems to have resulted in a whole new category. Tell us about that.
That's exactly right. We've seen over the years a differentiation in branded beef programs. It's been going on for quite some time. But what we've really seen recently is almost an explosion of branded beef programs. We're seeing so many new programs at the retail level, at the packer level. A lot of the breed associations are producing these new programs to help differentiate their beef. And the easiest way to do that, where we have those set grades, is to differentiate further on the grade. And that's what's happened most commonly is in the choice grade. We see a lot of programs that are regulated around the upper 2/3 of choice, or the bottom third of choice, or upper 2/3 choice and prime. And that's really the way that these retailers, these packers and groups have been able to segregate and upsell their beef.
So when cattle qualify for this type of quality grade, does the producer see a return from that?
That's a very good question. It's hotly debated whenever we talk about premiums in the industry, because a lot of people feel that whenever we provide a premium, we also create a discount for the cattle that don't qualify.
Sure.
And so that's what really drove this research that we've done at CattleFacts. We dug back into the data, looked at weekly data, wholesale prices. We developed a choice select cutout as a baseline and said, if we had no premium grades, what would that choice select cutout be worth? We then created a premium cutout that includes all the upper 2/3 choice, all these other program prices built into it. We compared that back to the baseline cutout, and what we saw was about a $2.59 premium per hundredweight at a carcass level, which is roughly $20 a head.
Have a lot of the branded programs specified that they, in fact, want the premium choice?
Yeah, there's been a real interest in it, especially just like I say, over the last few years we've seen a lot of programs open up, really stretching that upper 2/3 choice, almost has its own pricing market now, as we've seen the demand grow for it.
Brett, thank you very much. Good information. We look forward to having you back again soon.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Good, thank you. For more information, please head to cattle-facts.com. In Northwest Pennsylvania, you'll find Paul and Beth Wingard working together with a little help from their grandchildren. The Wingards run a 125-acre intensively managed grazing operation focused on a unique corner of the cattle industry.
What we produce is a product that is used by 4-H and FFA kids in projects for showing cattle. These are show calves. And the reason they get the name club calf is because 4-H clubs and the calves kind of go together.
Most steers that win at steer shows are crossbred cattle, so that's what our cattle are mostly. Most have some Maine Anjou and Angus in them, and also sometimes some Shorthorn, Simmental, or Chianina, and ours are kind of a combination of that.
Beth works closely with her young customers, and many Sunrise Club calves have gone on to become grand champion steers. Perhaps more impressive is the care the Wingards have given their land. Since they bought this farm back in 1978, they've made one improvement after another.
One of our most beneficial things we did is one year there was a program out through NRCS for emergency water during a drought year. And at that point we were able to put a water system in that gives us water in every paddock, and that definitely improves the grazing a lot because the cows don't have to travel to water and they graze the pastures more evenly.
Their farm now includes 4 ponds built over the years with help from the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service.
These are all utilized for watering to these cattle one way or another. We don't let the cows in the ponds. We use ways of extraction of water out of the pond through the embankments to feed our water system.
Obviously, to rotate the animals around the various pastures, you have to have water to accommodate them. They were the first in the county to put in one of these rubber tire water troughs.
Those water tanks are low cost because they reuse old rubber tires that would otherwise go to waste. In addition, Paul and Beth have worked to maximize their forage production through the use of management-intensive grazing.
We move the cows usually once a day, but that varies with weather conditions and such, but that's the general goal. Our paddocks are about 3-acre paddocks. There's 70 cow-calf pairs and about 6 or 8 yearlings, and they get a new pasture each day.
To enhance their grazing system and further protect their resources during the muddy winter season, the Wingards have added a heavy-use feeding area, and they've worked with NRCS to fence cattle out of streams and create stabilized stream crossings.
And what we're using, these are hog slats from the bottom of slotted floors in hog barns, only we're using them here to make a stabilized crossing. And you can run equipment, we can move cattle and so on back and forth across here, and yet you can see the water itself stays very clean, clear, and it's just been a great story, I guess, of stewardship on the land by the Wingards and working with NRCS and the other partners.
With all the practices they've implemented, the Wingards often host pasture walks and grazing groups to share ideas.
We've done a lot here with Paul and Beth as far as sending people here to see what they're doing. It's really a unique situation where they're so willing to share and to transfer that knowledge to other people.
It's a learning experience, and I think that's the reason we have it. It's a good turnout in this every time we have one of these meetings.
The sign at the entrance to Sunrise Club calves says visitors always welcome. That commitment to sharing with others the story of cattle on the land is part of the legacy Paul and Beth Wingard are building together.
I think that probably what I'm most proud of is that everything works together. The cattle are productive and look good and do well. The grass is productive and does well. The wildlife areas and such are working, and it's just a good feeling when the whole system comes together.
I think we should be good stewards of our land. They're not going to make any more of this. I think we should leave it better than we found it.
The Wingard family is one of 6 Regional Environmental Stewardship Award winners this year. The national winner will be announced this February at the Cattle Industry's annual convention and trade show, which is being held in Reno, Nevada. For more information on the 2008 event, head to cattlemen-to-cattlemen.org. Bunk management is an important component to the day-to-day functions on your operation. Ahead, we'll get tips from the experts on how to best manage your feed bunks. Plus, we'll head to California for a ringside seat to this year's Sale of Champions. But first, here's a look at this week's market summary provided by CattleFax.
Fort Dodge Animal Health knows your animals are an important part of your way of life. That's why we're committed to providing you with a complete family of livestock vaccines and pharmaceuticals to protect your investments, save you time, and ensure quality and safety in your operation. Your herd and your horses are important to you. That's why they're important to us. Fort Dodge Animal Health. For more information on our entire family of livestock products, visit us online.
Our Quarter Pounder with cheese is made from 100% pure USDA beef. That means there's 0% anything else. That's what we're made of.
Purina's wind and rain minerals are research tested and field proven to provide balanced mineral nutrition essential for cattle health, growth, and reproduction. They're highly palatable so cattle consume what they need when they need it. And wind and rain minerals special formulation resists the elements so they won't blow out of the feeder and maintain their palatability even if they've been wet. Wind and rain cattle minerals from Purina Mills, building better cattle.
And now, this week's Management Minute.
We're visiting with Dr. Kenton Morgan, Professional Services Veterinarian with Fort Dodge Animal Health. Dr. Morgan, I'm preconditioning my calves. What would you recommend?
Well, the first thing, Jim, I'd recommend for that producer to sit down with his or her veterinarian and discuss the program with them. They can set up a particular program that's going to be best for their operation. Now, as far as the basic components of most preconditioning programs, many variations, but the basics are the same, and that would be the vaccination program, a nutritional component to that, using a good deworming product, castrating, dehorning, and getting those calves bunk broke 30 to 45 days prior to shipment.
Tell me about the vaccinations with those two programs.
Well, there's the pre-weaning and weaning type of basic programs. With a pre-weaning program, we're going to start about 2 weeks prior to weaning. We're going to give those calves typically a modified live viral, which would include IBR, BVD, PI3, and BRSV. May or may not include lepto depending on that specific program. The other component we'll always include is 7-way Clostridial or blackleg type of vaccine, and then it's very common also to have a Pasteurella vaccine component to the vaccine portion of that. That's going to be given prior to weaning, and then at weaning, we will booster those products. Obviously, we're going to castrate, dehorn as needed, and we want those calves to be healed up prior to shipment. Now, for the weaning program, same basic components, we're just going to move it up where they get their first dose at the weaning event, and then be boosted approximately 2 weeks after that. And as you know, with any program we're going to use, we want to be sure that we're beef quality assurance compliant and we use these products according to label directions.
Welcome back to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Feed bunk management is an important step to keeping your cattle happy and healthy. Let's head to Camp Cooley Ranch in Texas, where Rod Newlick has some important tips.
I'm here with John Gorell, one of our good cattle specialists here in Texas. And John, we've looked at a number of programs today, and many of them involved using a self-feeder. But one of the important things to remember is because we are self-feeding doesn't mean that it's self-managed. You've got some good tips on how to manage these self-feeders for us.
That's right, Rod. You know, in a lot of cases, people understand bunk management in a feed yard, but when we get out here in the country away from a feed yard, you don't look at a self-feeder the same way as people manage bunks. This can be a really good labor-saving tool for you, but you've got to take care of it and got to use it right. They don't come with an owner's manual, but the manufacturer actually puts gates on these feeders. You can see down under here under the eave in the trough. These gates are adjustable. They're designed so that you can control the flow of the feed and prevent a lot of waste and buildup from occurring. This is a set screw to allow you to back that wing nut off and bring this gate up or down based on where you need it to get the flow on the feed that you're after. Then you tighten it back down and keep it in position. Some feeders do have other ways of adjusting that, but all feeders that I know of have these types of gates on them. If you're talking about a pelleted product, it's going to have better flowability, and you're going to set it about starting at, say, 2 finger widths high, and then may have to go up from there depending on how well that product flows. If you're talking about a meal product, more than what you're seeing in this area, you may have to start at a 3 finger length high and may have to go up from there to get it to flow. Or a coarse product, again, you'd want to start with a little higher opening. A good starting spot for a trough gate setting would be 2 finger widths, and you'd start with a pelleted ration like that at that setting to get it to flow. And you may have to go back up a little higher on a coarse or a more milly type product, it's going to be harder to flow. And then from a management standpoint, you want to be sure if you've got the gates set that low, that you go by when you get a good blowing rain and clean that out, because that could actually eliminate about half of your trough space. Usually the rain blows in on one side of the feeder and eliminates that side of the feeder as far as flow, and that can really affect the consumption of your cattle and therefore the performance. Because the cattle will continue to go towards the better, fresher feed that's coming out of the feeder, and they'll pass over the feed that's not as that's been out in the trough for a while. So you'll end up with a lot of waste, a lot of buildup in the trough that you could prevent if you set these properly. Another very important part to bunk management with any feeding program is having adequate trough space. If you've got a feeder that doesn't have enough trough space, you're going to end up with cattle, a group of cattle where there'll be a tail end of those cattle that don't perform well. Those are the cattle that were more timid and didn't come up to the trough and consume enough feed. Those are the cattle that help bring the average down on the performance. So any good feeding program is only as good as the management that's behind it. Okay, when you're talking about bunk space for cattle with these bulk feeders or self feeders, we're talking about linear feet. You're wanting to have, for example, with bulls, because they're more aggressive animals and they're bigger animals, and you're definitely not wanting to limit their performance, you want to give them at least 1 foot of trough space. For example, if you had a 15-foot feeder, you would have 2 troughs, 1 on each side. That would be 30 feet of trough space. You'd want to have 30 bulls at the most on that feeder. If you had 50 bulls on that feeder, you'd have limited trough space. Some of those bulls wouldn't come up to the feeder and eat as much as they needed to eat to perform at their top performance level. When you're starting cattle, you've got timid cattle that are more stressed and less likely to come up to the feeder. They don't know much about feed sometimes. Those cattle need to have as much as 8 to 12 inches, even though they're smaller. And then as you go out into the pasture and you use a good self-limited product or one that has good intake modification, and you're using a lot of forage in the diet of the animal and not as much feed, the cattle are not spending as much time at the trough, and therefore you can cut down on your trough space to as little as maybe 3 inches. Overall, again, when you're talking about a good feeding program, it's only as good as the bunk management that's behind it.
Thanks, Rod. For more information on bunk management, head to cattlemen.org. It's state fair season across the country. Next, we'll head to the California Expo and State Fair for highlights from this year's Sale of Champions. We'll be right back.
More time on the job means more work gets done. And when the job's all about keeping your herd healthy and productive, remember, only Vesicle Gold FP helps provide a full year's fetal protection against BVD persistent infections and IBR abortions. Why risk using anything less? Ask your veterinarian or animal health supplier about Vesicle Gold.
2 100% pure USDA inspected patties are only the beginning of what make the Big Mac famous, and that's what we're made of.
Out here, you do a job right, then you move on. And when the job is fast treatment of shipping fever, Vesicle 100 is how you do it. It's designed specifically for first-line treatment of bovine respiratory disease, for use by or on the order of a licensed veterinarian. Extra label use in food-producing animals is prohibited. Ask your veterinarian for more information. When the job is killing BRD fast, choose Vesicle 100. Right the first time.
Welcome back. It's the best of junior livestock in California, and this year's Sale of Champions at the California State Fair was no exception. Let's take a look.
700, 27, 26 is there, 27, 26, 27, 26, 27.
She raises poultry and rabbits.
The State Fair is what I would consider the absolute gem of California's fairs. Our theme is Fun Never Grows Old, and as you can look around, you can see the excitement and what we can do for children, what we can do for adults, for our seniors, and every culture that we have here in the Sacramento area.
This would rank amongst the top 5-10 state fairs in the country in terms of competitiveness, and as strong as these livestock shows are here, this would be one of the premier livestock events in the country. The state fair began in 1854, and there's been an auction of some sort or other since that time. But really in 1980 it was established that we would recognize only the finest, and so we began the sale of champions at that point.
Now, turn your catalog line number 3 for Schnorrs here at Chowchilla FFA, Reserve Champion FFA Market Steer.
I started when I was 9 years old with the Grand Hog and the Reserve Grand Steer, and it was just a wonderful experience. All the help and support that's put towards it, and all the money that's put towards the kids and their projects, and it just really pays off in the end. All the hard work that we put towards our projects, it just is a great reward towards us. When you make the sale of champions, it's just a great accomplishment, and not very many people always get to feel that excitement and make it. So when they do, hopefully they don't take it for granted, because it's a wonderful experience.
It's only my first year showing at this fair. I did good recently. I got Reserve Supreme Steer. It was fun having all my friends and family here, and I'm just glad that I was picked where I was.
A great livestock family as well.
It's an opportunity for young people to be able to show their animals and their hard work and allow the public to actually come here and support them.
I showed a market steer, and I was lucky enough to be awarded with a grand champion overall, and I just recently, like half hour ago, just got finished going through the sale of champions, selling my steer. I'd encourage other kids to get involved in any like FFA or 4-H event. I mean, there's more than just livestock, but I mean, it's a good experience that teaches you a lot of like hard work and dedication.
They do so much all through the year. They compete, they do all the things that are necessary all the way through the state of California, and this is their opportunity for everyone to be able to see what they've done and how we can support them, and to make sure that this kind of thing continues for the future.
2700, 27.
This year's California Sale of Champions raised thousands of dollars for the kids who worked so hard to compete. You can get more information by heading to our website at cattlemen2cattlemen.org. We'll be right back.
Agriculture is a small portion of the population now, and if we're not working together, we're not going to get anywhere.
As our family, we cannot be in Washington, D.C. all the time, and I just couldn't live without NCBA representing.
They're looking out for our interests. They're there fighting for us every day.
If you got 1 cow or 2 cows or 100 cows, you need to be a member.
I'm a member of the NCBA because a long time ago, 35 years ago, I felt that I needed to know more of what my industry is doing. So I got started at the county level. If you're in the cattle industry, now's the time to join and let your voice be heard loud and clear.
You need NCBA working for you, and NCBA needs you. It's easy to join. Just call, get online, or talk with your state affiliate and sign up today.
NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, a television show by cattlemen for cattlemen.
Welcome back. This year's winners of the Seed Stock Producer of the Year Award have been in the beef business for a quarter century. At this summer's Beef Improvement Federation meeting, Pelton Simmental Red Angus was honored for their seed stock work. Lynn and Gary Pelton, along with their family, operate the ranch near Burdett, Kansas. One of the most unique aspects of the operation is the Peltons' commitment to marketing customers' calves through multiple channels. The Peltons say they're very proud of the work they do.
It's very humbling to be considered as one of the ones that have accomplished some things, and certainly a lot of things that we have accomplished in our breeding program.
You can learn more about the Seed Stock Producer of the Year Award and the Beef Improvement Federation by heading to cattlemen2cattlemen.org. Thank you for continuing to send us your fabulous farm and ranch photos. Let's take a look at this week's selection of legacy photos. Please do send us your favorite farm and ranch photos and see them right here on Cattlemen to Cattlemen. To do so, head to our website at cattlementocattlemen.org. Next week, we'll feature another regional winner from this year's Environmental Stewardship Awards program. Plus, we'll take a look at the importance of calf health on your operation. And as always, your news and market headlines. Thanks for joining us on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Be sure to tune in next week. A new episode airs every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern Time, right here on RFD TV.